Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. Pat, what is this, the fourth Sports Extra Overtime?
Number 4.
We have a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to talk to Gary Sloan coming up about their the Grand Meadows number 3 Grand Meadows, taking on number 5 Southland tomorrow in big 9-man action. We're going to talk about our big storylines and surprises of the night, and we have a couple college football games that we are going to pick. But Pat, I believe right now we have Gary Sloan on the phone, the head coach of the Grand Meadows Superlarks, who won 4 state championships in a row. Gary, how you doing?
I'm good. Looking forward to tomorrow.
Awesome, Gary. So obviously, you've been a coach here for a very long time. Each team has a little bit of a different identity, but here through the early going, what do you think is the identity of this year's Grand Meadow team?
Well, I really like the makeup of this team. We've got a large group of upperclassmen. We have 6 seniors that have been starting since they were sophomores, and just a hard-working group. They got a lot of personality. They're a fun group to coach, and hopefully we can come out and put up a good show tomorrow.
You know, you guys have been really good, Gary, for a long time. Then Spring Grove came along and challenged, and then went to the Prep Bowl. Southland, you've been neighbors, but this is the first 9-man matchup. That's got to be interesting for you.
It is. You know, we know each other well. You know, the kids play basketball against each other. Some of the kids wrestle together on the same team.
Yep.
And so it's a good rivalry, kind of a good relationship. Not really a real lot of tradition in football, but I'm sure this is going to develop into something pretty special.
What do they bring to the table tomorrow?
They're really solid. You know, I think they're a lot like we are. I don't think they have any superstars. I just think they have a lot of good players in a lot of different positions. And, you know, as a defensive coach, that makes it difficult. You know, you got to stop everybody, and that's not easy to do. So we really can't focus on 1 or 2 individuals. We just have to try and be solid the whole time. And, you know, our defense has been playing really well. I'm not real happy with our offense, and we got to find a way to put some points on the board tomorrow.
Well, Gary, this is, I believe, just their second year down playing in 9-man football, but Southland's been putting up a lot of points this year offensively. Looking at the tape, what have they done so well this year?
Well, they run a lot of different formations. We've got about 5 or 6 kind of main formations that they do, and they're effective in all of them. And like I said before, you know, they got 3 running backs that can hurt you. They throw the ball, you know, to different receivers and stuff like that. So there's really nothing, you know, that you can really key on. It's just we have to just try and live with them and hopefully win the turnover battle and you know, maybe even some special teams. Our special teams have done well for us this year, and just gotta find a way to hopefully hold the score down and find a way to outscore them.
Gary, everybody that's always worked for me on the weekends has always learned to love 9-man football, and this is my last trip down to Grand Meadow because I'm done with things at the end of the years. And I've always had a love affair with 9-man. I've always loved going to Leroy. And I remember the first time I went to Grand Meadow and we were doing a preview for the football season. It might have been 91 or 92. And I remember Jerry Reeker came running down. I asked one of the coaches, I said, where's Coach? And he'll be come jogging down the road. And I remember it was like 90 degrees out. And here comes Jerry Reeker with just a pair of shorts on. He was an Adonis, man. He came jogging down the road. And that sold me right away with 9-man football. It was so cool. In your old stadium there where the fans had houses around the field and they'd sit out there and barbecue and have a fire. If no one's ever been to a 9-man football game and you're watching this, it is something special and rare, isn't it, Gary?
It really is. You know, football is important in a lot of communities, but I think in these small communities, and especially one like Grand Meadow, I think it's extra important. And you're right. Jerry was the most intense individual I've ever met in my life. I learned so much about football and about life from Jerry. Just a great coach, and I was with him for 8 years. We had a lot of good times.
Well, Gary, we'll let you get out of here with this one. We have one more question. Obviously, this Corona season has been very atypical, but what's it like kind of having a Saturday game here kind of early in the season or at its midway point?
Well, everything is different this year.
Yeah.
I mean, every single thing. I actually went and got tested today myself, and hopefully everything turns out okay that way. We just had a very distant exposure and things like that. But you know, you you gotta play for today. You can't count on tomorrow because you don't know what it's going to be. And we just keep stressing that to the kids that we're going to be flexible, we're going to be adaptable, and we're just going to go on no matter what happens.
Gary, always a pleasure, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, and put on a good show for everybody.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, thank you. Gary Sloan, the head football coach of the Grand Meadow Superlarks, a 4-time state champion. All right, Mark, now what do we got going on?
Now we got Pat. We have our biggest surprises of the night. I don't know if there's been any big storylines that have stood out to you so far, but I have 3 big ones that stood out to me tonight, starting with Owatonna. Owatonna, the second-ranked Huskies, fell on the road. We're going to have this a little bit later, guys, with college football, but this is our big surprise of the night. Owatonna on the road at Monticello lost 7-6. That loss was Owatonna's first regular season loss since 2017.
Wow.
Just Jeff Williams is running quite a program over there. We got a couple other ones. Century on the road at Winona. Winona maybe not having a year.
Their streak, 24.
Yeah, Century on the road snapped a 24-game home win streak there for the Windhawks. And John Marshall, how about that? Going on the road up to Northfield and getting their first win. Anything for you, though, Pat?
The Cass and Manorville score, they had to go up to Hopkins and play. They played a good Albany team that was ranked 3rd, and they lost 42-7. That surprised me. I kind of like how these coaches and these administrators are trying to find games for these kids. Hayfield went down to Caledonia and played tonight against Ridge River, Wisconsin. They're out of just south of Prairie du Chien. So they're doing the best they can with these games that get canceled. They're trying to find opponents, but I just think
that was the same with Owatonna, I believe.
Yeah,
Owatonna went to Monticello because they're game with New Prague.
Same with Cass and Manorville.
So
it's happening, but we're getting we had 22 games tonight. So I think the most impressive thing is that we had 22 games tonight. And probably the most we saw it was with the young gentleman down in Leroy that scored the touchdown.
That was absolutely outstanding. And then actually the best thing about that is after he scored the touchdown, the 2-point conversion, there's a bunch of people there on the sidelines coming up just congratulating him. They all wanted to talk, and he just looked at him and goes, "Guys, I'll talk to you after the game." Like he was just so locked in, he just wanted to get back to it. It was really, honestly, of all the things I've covered here in Minnesota, that might have been the absolute coolest thing that I've seen there. Great move by Sean Kennedy, the Southland coach, but AD at Leroy Ostrander. All right, Pat, are we ready to do some college picks? Here we go. Timmy, if we can pull up those
Who's playing tomorrow?
Scoreboards. Here we go. 23rd ranked Iowa State against the 0-5 Kansas Jayhawks down in Lawrence, Kansas. Pat, Les Miles, exactly.
Yeah.
Pat, I'm not going to ask you who's going to win this game, because I think we all assume it's going to be Iowa State. But Iowa State, I believe, is 28.5-point favorites. Do they cover?
Yes.
You think they're going to score more than 29 points than Kansas?
Yes.
I have to agree. Kansas looks like an absolutely god-awful team. I don't know. Les Miles coming to Kansas, we thought he was going to shake it up.
Is he all there?
I assume he's there.
It's
just, I don't know. There's not a lot of in-state talent. I don't think they've ever – I mean, they need to bring back Mark Mangino. Remember him? Back when they Big Mangino. There's a hilarious picture on Twitter. Mark Mangino was bigger than the Orange Bowl mascot when Kansas went to go play there. All right, next, Timmy, we got another score coming up here. Northwestern 1-0 traveling to Kinnick Stadium, Iowa City, to take on the 0-1 Iowa Hawkeyes.
Northwestern
Iowa 2.5
put a beat
point
down on
favorites.
Maryland last week.
What does that mean after the Gopher loss today, Pat? Who knows?
I'm going to go for the upset, and I'm going to go with Northwestern in Iowa City.
I don't know, Pat. That's a tough one. Iowa obviously lost to Purdue on the road to start the season. Kirk Ferentz, I don't believe that he's going to let that team fall to 0-2 to start the season. You cannot lose at home. You have to defend your home turf in football. It's so funny. It's so important, not so funny. I believe that they're going to get the win there. I think we have one more game coming up. It's the biggest game in college football tomorrow. The third-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes and Justin Fields on the road at Beaver Stadium in the Happy Valley at 18th-ranked Penn State. Penn State coming off that tough overtime loss to Indiana. Ohio State, 12.5-point favorites, Pat. I'm not going to ask if they're going to win. I'm going to ask you, is Ohio State going to cover tomorrow?
They will win by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way that Ohio State loses that game. Justin Fields, did you watch him last week?
Yes.
Absolutely phenomenal. That guy, whoever's at the top of the NFL draft, getting Trevor Lawrence, getting Justin Fields, I don't think you're really missing anything there. Pat, do we have anything else coming up here tonight?
No, that's great. Unless you want to talk about something, but no.
No, I
otherwise
think
I'm
we're all
good.
good. I think that's all we have
I'm in
here.
tomorrow. You're off.
That's right.
You're going to hang with some family, so I'll be in tomorrow. I'll be at Byron and Albert Lee at 1, then I'm heading down to Grand Meadow, and we'll see what else we can find.
The big dog down in Grand Meadow.
For the final time.
All right, everybody. I guess that's our last, our last Sports Extra overtime tidbit here of the night. Pat, anything?
Yep. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week on Sports Extra. Keep your fingers crossed.